Hi everyone, this is Julie Allball from Wedding Market Live, and today we're going to talk about how to harness storytelling with Sarah Campbell here from Intrigue Design and Decor. We are so excited about having her here today. Hi Sarah, I'm so glad that you came on today.
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. This is exciting having you like right here in my office.
So when did you first get into floral design?
Oh gosh. So I started my career as a wedding planner actually. And I did pretty well in the wedding planning circle. And I got to a point where I found that I needed to have a little bit more control over my designs. And in my market, I was in the Annapolis, Maryland area on the East Coast. In my market, I couldn't find the right florist to fill the needs I was looking for with my clients. I couldn't find someone who I could communicate that I could communicate what it was I wanted for these weddings. That's kind of what started as a whole big long story that we would have to do in a whole nother day or over a bottle of wine about how it actually transpired that it transitioned from wedding planning to florals. But once I got into florals, once I got my hands onto the flowers, I was hooked. There was not only a whole nother revenue stream coming from flowers, but the creative ability I had far exceeded anything that I had when I was a wedding planner. So, being a florist just totally made sense. Now, I call myself a florist, but I'm definitely a wedding designer. I don't do the everyday floral design pieces. I'm not setting pieces up for graduation or for funerals. I really am strictly weddings.
Sarah and I will be answering your questions here on Facebook. So post your questions in the comments and we will answer your questions right here in the broadcast. How long did it take you, once you started your business into, you said wedding planning, did it take you to get into the floral design, part of the business?
Sure. So when I was transitioning between wedding planning and floral, I did both for quite a while. I want to say it was maybe 3, 4 years that I balanced both wedding planning and floral design, and grew my team doing both. But then I got to a point where I realized that in order to do both successfully, you need to have an enormous team. Um, or you just need to break off and do one or the other. So at that point, I sold my wedding planning firm. I sold that part of the business and focused exclusively on florals. The other great part is wedding planners are a huge source of my business now. Like, that's who's sending me my clients. And if I was still doing wedding planning and floral at the same time, do you think any of them would be sending me business? No. It was a really great transition. So I want to say between starting of wedding planning and actually being a full-time florist only, it was about 10 years. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
9, 10 years into floral. I lose track, forget the years. I've been doing this a long time. I do forget
Well,
the years.
it's interesting to me that you said, sometimes we have guests and people that want to make more money talk about adding more services on. And I think it's really interesting that you were talking about how you sold that other business and then went off on the other side of the business, which was the design and the decor. And I love the fact that you've also mentioned that how you wouldn't have got planners to refer you, also.
Absolutely.
So,
You know,
yeah.
I heard a great quote the other day, or read a great quote on Facebook, and it said something to the effect of, if you want to be everything, you'll never be anything. And I think that's really great. If you take on too much, if you're trying to do everything in the entire world and you don't have that focus, then your business isn't going to grow as much. So from the time I sold the planning firm and focused exclusively on flowers, that was a point where my business really took off. Like, that was my jumping off point. And I had a great base from being in the wedding planning world, that I really knew the logistics and how to run this floral design business. But if I was doing both, I definitely don't think that I'd be going on this national tour and teaching all over the country. That wouldn't be happening if I was trying to do everything. So when I really just started to focus on flowers,
Mm-hmm.
that was my key.
once you got into the design and the decor, how did you get into videos? What made you start deciding to do videos in the business?
So, you know how Facebook changed and businesses started to struggle, and then we discovered Instagram, and that was this incredible marketing avenue. Instagram was like this virtual soapbox that we all got to share our work and be creative, and there's lots of artists and designers and florists and makers, much like me, that have really grown through Instagram. But then Instagram started making changes, much like the changes that Facebook had made years ago. And as saw these changes happening, I realized I had to find another way to connect with that audience, connect with the following that is already in Instagram. So at that point, I stopped trying to build my following. Prior to those changes, my focus had been to how to get more followers, how to find more people that are interested in Intrigue that can follow the account. Then about 2 years ago, once the changes were happening, I stopped completely. So I don't care how many followers I have anymore. I don't even look anymore. Now it's all about the interaction. And in order to build the interaction, I wanted to find a way that people would come back to my account. So for those of you who don't know, with the changes that Instagram made, it went from seeing everything real time to now Instagram has algorithms that will show you what it feels like you want to look at. And sometimes it's right. Sometimes Instagram shows me stuff I never would have looked for that I love. But for a marketing avenue, it's more challenging for us to connect. So I started writing stories in multiple parts and made them captivating enough with just enough cliffhanger on them that people would get excited to come back and read part 2 and part 3. Now, I don't know that all of my following by any means reads my stories. I think there might be 40-some thousand or 50-some thousand followers there. And there's no chance they're all reading my stories. But the ones that are really committed to Intrigue, or the ones that just happen to see it, they're the ones that are coming back. And those are the individuals that I want to connect with.
Certainly agree with you, Sarah, that it is all about the engagement. I mean, every time I've done Twitter chats or Facebook groups or whatever, I'm not really concerned with the follower count as I am is how many people are engaged in the conversation and find it interesting and come back. But you were talking about the changes with Instagram. I would like your thoughts on whether or not, what do you feel about Instagram pods? Do you think that those are helpful, or do you think those are a waste of time?
I don't offend anyone. Instagram pod is a waste of time. It's fake. It's not real. Buying likes, buying followers is just like an Instagram pod. It's not a real connection. Sure, your pod may get you an extra hit or two, but I've done studies. I'm actually about to do another study, and I can show you that you can get 100 comments on something really quickly, and it is actually not changing your algorithm in Instagram any different than if you got 5 comments. So whereas the comments definitely play with the interaction, it doesn't necessarily help your algorithm. So being in those pods, well, first of all, are those pods your customers either? Are those pods connected to your customers? Yeah, I think it's a waste of time.
That's good to hear. Because a lot of times I've had some social media experts that would say that algorithms, and maybe they were referring to Facebook or some of the others, and I know that's not, I mean, we're really talking about Instagram today, but how Facebook and some of the other platforms are ranking by how many comments, how many shares, how many likes there are on some of, the things that we post. So it's interesting to me that you're talking about Instagram and how that doesn't change the algorithm. It doesn't help. So I would love to learn more about your research, and I think you're doing some more that is coming up. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So when it came to Instagram, I started making a lot of changes and really paying a lot of attention to how the posts were working in my feed. And I, at one point, was spending 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours really studying and focusing to make sure I could find a way that I could continue to use Instagram as my main marketing source. And once I found a really good system, I wanted to test it out with other designers. So I posed a question in the Intrigue Teaches Facebook group, which is all florists and wedding planners and people doing what I do. And I asked if they want to be part of the study, which branched off in this whole other group, which is just for the Facebook study group. And we did a series back at the end of August of very organized, dedicated posts with specific instruction to pair um, how the rhythms were affecting each of those specific posts and how the wording and the images was going to affect each of the posts. And that really, we got a great response. If you want to watch the video the that has our findings from that study, I'd be happy to share it. I can, if it's okay with you, I can even share it in the comments later. Um,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. So anyway, so we're going to be doing another one, and I'm working on finalizing a date. We were going to do it this coming week, but I've got a masterclass workshop and I've got multiple events going on. So I think I'm going to be postponing it. I will have a new date. I will have a new date shortly. If not today, have a new date for the next study.
Now, could we talk a little bit? I think in your study you talked about 4 different types of post and how the audience, us as wedding professionals, didn't like to really do storytelling. That was one that wasn't well received, but yet I think it did rather well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So we it was supposed to be a 3-day study, and in the course of the study I decided to impromptu add a 4th day, and the 4th day of the study was to tell a story, a multi-part story, and that was something that I had been doing for quite some time on my feed, had great success, and I didn't really have a reason to test that because I knew 100% that it worked so well, but I thought it would be really nice and interesting to see how other people responded when posing these stories. Those that were involved in the study that actually posted the stories got phenomenal results. The stories were attracting people, they were calling them in. Not only that, most of the stories showed the designers' faces. And when you're sharing your face and a story that connects with the person, people are gravitated towards it. They get to know you better, they're connected with your brand better. And during the study, we really saw how these brands, people were commenting and interacting, and they were excited to know more about the actual person behind this flat surface, this Instagram surface. But there was about 20% of the overall designers, about 20% of them actually did the story. The majority of them did not. And I did get a little bit of feedback because, of course, I wanted to know what was the reason? What caused you not to do the final step? I was not mad at anyone. I just I was curious. And it really was time. You know, writing and storytelling takes time. You have to kind of quiet your mind, shut off all the busy that's around the world and around your office and around your business. And you need to be able to focus in order to write a story, in order to tell a story. It does take longer. So when I do a story, it takes me at least an hour. Whereas if I did just a normal Instagram post, what does that take? 30 seconds? That's a big difference in time commitment. So it does take time, but it works.
Yes, yes, it does. Now, would you say, as far as what was the least effective of the 4 different things that you did in this survey?
Oh gosh, I have to look back, and forgive me if I'm wrong on this. I'm pretty sure the least effective was the ones where we just posted a photo. So each day I had the designers that were involved in the study post 3 individual photos throughout the course of the day, and the photos were all in a similar color and style and feel. and I had them write different things each day. So the day I believe that it had the least effective is where we just put a quick sentence about our work, about the picture we were posting, and the picture. And that was okay. Like, it was kind of average. It didn't do worse than anything else, but it didn't do better. Um, the one that came in second, I believe, to the story itself was where a question was posed or the audience was being asked to do something specific. People like to be given
Mm-hmm.
an instruction. This is so silly, but sometimes we like to be told what to do. As much as we think we don't, saying something as simple as double tap if this protea is the most beautiful you've ever seen in your entire life, people will just kind of without a thought double tap, maybe smile because it was kind of cute, but they pause for a moment. And on Instagram now, with the way the rhythms are working, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the thing that makes you slow your scroll, the thing that makes you pause and give me some love on that picture. That's what I'm looking for because that extra second of your life is a reminder of who Intrigue is.
Now, I think I remember also from your study that you also shared with the designers to do several photos back to back, right,
Yes.
within a short time of each other, and then you did another one where they spaced it out. Um, and I think you shared that there wasn't any difference, I think. Wasn't that correct?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot difference, which that actually was really surprising to me because I'd always try to space my images out because back in the day, like 2 years ago, back in the day, uh, when 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 Instagram first started, then you saw. Sorry, I have a ding going off. I apologize, guys. When Instagram first started, everything was real time. So if someone was posting back to back, it's kind of like, ugh, did Intrigue post again? However, with the new algorithm, the Instagram kind of picks and chooses when it's going to be shown, so you're not seeing things back to back, even though they're posted back to back. So I thought that was really interesting that there was such little difference between the two.
Yeah, I think one of the big things I want to kind of talk about for our audience to hear, and I think it's so important, is how you use video or even photos or posts during the week that you're preparing for a wedding. How do you, I guess, what are different things that you do during the week preparing for that wedding to share that wedding?
So we're in a great industry. We are in a visually inspired industry, an industry that loves to see what's happening, to see what's going on. So, you know, just having your phone out and taking some video of some behind the scenes, that's great to pop that up onto the stories. So right now we've been playing with YouTube a little bit. That's off subject, but so I've been making a video almost every day of the events that happen throughout the course of the day. And I take that same material and I'm using that in the stories. So that is, flowers are being delivered, we're processing, we are starting to design. Your phone does a great job. I don't own a professional camera. I do everything off my smartphone. And I found that they've got slow motion in there, you've got a hyperlapse in there. You can add music.
Mm-hmm.
There's an app I use called Quick. So if I don't like what I'm saying or I'm saying something like ridiculous, because sometimes when I talk into a camera, most foolish, ridiculous things come out of my mouth, and I need to put some music over it. And your phone can do all this between your apps and just the average smartphone. This is a Droid. No, it's a Droid something. I don't know which Droid this is, but I've been so happy with it. It's been able to do all these things.
I guess my next question would be is as far as like well, it's not Snapchat. I want to say Instagram stories. How how do you like do post compared to doing stories? How many stories do you do during the week compared to post? Is there, or is there a better
Sure.
time of day?
When it comes to how many posts I'm going to do in a day. I try to keep my posts at 3 to a day because that just works for me. And even though I guess it doesn't matter because we did that study, I still do space them out throughout the course of the day. And then when it comes to story, I may have 3, 6, 10 stories that will go on. I don't do a story every day. I do a story if there's something interesting. And I also show the story of my personal life a little bit. Like if I'm going to my son's band practice or if I'm doing dishes in the morning. This sounds so crazy. But when you add a little bit of that personal and make it a little joyful and fun into the business side, people are connecting on a much higher level. The other thing that I found was really interesting is I have two different audiences on Instagram now. I have the audience that is directly interested in the stories, and I think maybe only looks at my stories, and then my audience that looks at the regular Instagram itself. So I thought that was really nice when Instagram introduced these new layers because they allowed a new audience to connect with us.
I really tell you, as a videographer by trade, I just love Instagram stories, and I feel like it is like telling a story. That if you are at an event, that you can share short little things that are happening through the day. So I really love that. And I like what you said about only, posting, maybe 3 posts. I think some people can post too much, and I always think that's good to know. Now, as far as the video, what type of equipment are you using to create your videos?
Well, honestly, for the most part, it is the cell phone. That is definitely my primary focus. We do have a series of tripods that I use. In fact, I can't reach any of them here, but I bought all of it off Amazon. So I'll use a standard handheld tripod, and then I'll use a tripod that'll actually stand up all the way.
Well, it's amazing, I think, nowadays how good a quality the phones actually record, and they're getting better and better all the time. It's just amazing to me. Now, as far as like editing, do you do any type of like apps or software on your phone to edit your videos for the different platforms?
I do. So I use an app called Quick, which there's a little bit of a learning curve with the app, but once you get it, it's really nice. You just go onto your gallery and you can just select which of the videos throughout the course of the day that you want to have in the video. And the app called Quick, it will actually take it all and convert it into a full-length video with music. And then you can go in from there and you can change the music, you can do any edits you want, you can add wording if you want to have copy over the visuals. You can also speed it up, slow it down, so it's a really helpful app. It is free, which is my favorite kind of app. The other thing it does is it requires that you do not procrastinate because you have to do it in 24 hours. If after 24 hours you have not made that video, you can't anymore. It only looks at the video you have taken the last 24 hours. So this means before I go to bed every night, I make sure that I just take 5 minutes and I put that video together. And then this here,
Wow.
This is a little helpful piece. I use this a lot. There's a little apparatus that the phone will actually attach to. I don't have it on at the moment. But I can put this anywhere. It's got these bendable legs. It will attach to anything. And I can put it on the side of my truck when I'm loading in if I want to do, this speedy video, time lapse, whatever it is. If I want to show us loading. Or I can hook this on one of the lighting crew's pipes all the way up high if I want to do a nice aerial shot. Or I can just sit it on my desk if I want to talk directly into the camera. So this is really easy. I think it was $7 on Amazon, and I use it all the time.
Yeah, it's funny, Sarah. I use a similar tripod with the same type of legs. So, at my last conference, I didn't do a lot of live streaming, so I took this and just my phone and a microphone, and that was it. Which for me, that was kind of a big deal. Getting to when you speak and you go to conferences, I think I saw a video where you were actually telling the story of how you were going to the conference, like you were cutting up different scenes of getting ready. And so I'm sure it's kind of hard to, when you're so busy and you're traveling, I know for myself, how you manage your time to do that.
I think it's all about prioritizing. I so I don't always know how I get everything done in a day that I do. I know that I am hyper productive sometimes. I wish I could explain that completely, and I can't. Uh, I think the part of the way I'm able to be as productive as I can is, this is going to sound like a complete contradiction, but I'm also kind of lazy. So I like the easiest ways to do everything. So if you ever want to know how I do something and you ask me, I'm going to tell you the easiest possible way. Like whatever softwares I use, whatever programs I use, they're probably not the fanciest. They may not even be the best available, but they are the quickest and easiest to get the job done and have it done correctly. So that is kind of, I guess, my secret is just find things that work for you, find things that make sense for your mind, and you're able to just get through, because if you hate it, then you're not going to be able to finish it.
That's true. That's true. Now, you have a new book that's coming out. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Ugh, I have a deadline right around the corner. We are not finished yet, so my heart is pounding. Uh, there, when you want to get something done, give yourself a deadline, but then once that deadline gets there, you have to realize you did it yourself. um, so we have a book, a book coming out. I guess I have a book coming out. It is Becoming Intrigue, and it's really this fun and playful behind-the-scenes look at how I not only grew into who I am today, but how Intrigue came to be, and all those fun little pitfalls and successes and dodges and weaves that happen throughout the course of a lifetime and of a business. So it's a little bit of story, a lot of visual inspiration. You're going to see a lot of beautiful, beautiful intrigue work in there. And then some of the stories behind that work, that some of it you've heard and some of it I've never shared with anyone. In fact, there is a whole section that I'm looking at and debating whether, do I really want to share this? And I think I'm going to, but yeah, the whole, it's going to be a fun look at who Intrigue is.
Okay. Well, you're gonna have to give us a little, maybe a before the book is actually out, give us some pre stuff that we can kind of give everybody the word. Okay, the book's getting ready to come out, but we also have books on our website, so we'll make sure to share it.
Oh, that'd be great. Right now, our deadline, well, I've got a deadline to go to print, and the book is to be officially released the third week of our national tour. So our tour launches on January the 8th, and the book is due to release on January 22nd, I believe. Actually, it could be January 30th. January 30th is our launch date for the book.
Mm-hmm. What city will you be going to? A certain city for the first release or day that it comes out?
Yes, so it just so happens that on January 30th, our tour stop is in LA, and I thought, what better city to book a launch of a book than Los Angeles, right? So Los Angeles it is.
Wow. So are you going to sell tickets online for the event?
We're actually doing the book launch at our workshop. So those that are attending the workshop are getting the fun perks of the book launch itself. We're not doing a separate launch party. That is our launch. And it's really exciting because the people who attend the workshops and the classes, those are the people that really love Intrigue. And at the end of the day, those are the people who made Intrigue, and those are the people I want there.
So, as far as the you do these training sessions or workshops, can you, for those that maybe do not know who you are, can you share what you do in some of these workshops?
Sure. So, my focus while I've been in the wedding industry has been that high end luxury wedding market. I really focus on clients in that 60,000 plus range. I do not focus on that hyper luxury market, which is that luxury market that is spending 500,000 to $1 million. There's definitely some weddings spend multiple $1 million. There is a market for that. That is not where my focus is. My focus lies in that 60,000 to about the low $500,000 range for weddings. And as I focus on that market, I really developed a way to market and target those luxury clients. I developed a way to sell to those luxury clients, design for those luxury clients, and curated a style that is very much reflective of who I am. So when I started teaching workshops, I wanted to not only be able to hands on teach designers how to create the luxury design elements and the over the top floral creations that I create, but I also want to teach them the business behind it, because just because you can do something doesn't mean you know how to run a business that will sustain you doing that thing that you love. So we decided to host the workshops, and we decided to do them in two parts, doing a hands-on day and then one that's all focused on business. Now, when we launched this tour, we launched it in July on a Friday afternoon with no marketing. And when we launched a tour, we thought, let's plan a national tour. Maybe we'll sell in 8 to 10 states, and then we'll know where our market is. Well, we launched on Friday. Really, the only marketing was we shared it on Instagram. By Saturday afternoon, we had sold tickets in almost every state. And by Sunday, we'd sold hundreds of seats across the United States, including Hawaii and Alaska, which blew my mind. I didn't know anyone in Alaska even knew my name. Nonetheless, want to be part of this workshop to learn from Intrigue. So it was spectacular. And Los Angeles has hands down been the most popular city.
Oh, wow. Now, one thing I want to get back on when you were talking about Instagram and you were sharing what clientele that you work with and the study that you were talking about. Can we kind of focus on those four types of posts and the posts that actually got people to send an inquiry and
Sure.
maybe what your success has been with that?
Sure. So, all right. So let's talk about really telling a story. So before I even talk about the other three posts, let's really focus on this story. So when I was challenging the individuals on the study to tell their story, to put the story out there, I wanted it done in a true story form. So we think about you're reading a book. The book has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
connect with it. There's a reason that people connect with those stories that go all the way through. You never like to read a book and get to the end and you're like, well, how am I even supposed to know what's happening? Like, the book's over and we haven't finished it. We've all wasted our time reading books that have let us down. So I really wanted to make sure everybody put the time in to do a beginning, middle, and end to tell a full story. And it really is when you tell that story from beginning to end that people are connecting. But it's more than that. It's people connect to you and they see you as like them. And when you connect the client, when you connect with a client that feels like you're on the same page, that then becomes a much easier sale, because they have reached out to you because they've they've already committed to you in some way by just sending that message or giving you a call off of this post where they've read your story, they've invested time in getting to know you, they already want to hire you. Like, it's very clear when they got that little this designer understands me. She understands my life. That connection is going to go
Mm-hmm.
so far with booking the actual sale.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's for those that don't know, my sister is actually a florist, and I actually did a behind the scenes with her, and I know you think that video is so authentic, and that's why people should do it. But what was amazing when I worked with her is how like the bride came and hugged her, and that wasn't even planned. Those are the kinds of moments that people want to share that typically don't share that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a level of authenticity when it comes to video, especially in your stories. There definitely is a level of authenticity. I do caution everyone to not be too authentic. Like, you still want to share the positive. You still want to share the happy. Like, we all have negative things that happen. We all have houses that are a disaster in some areas. Guys, I only share the parts that are kind of cleaned up. Like, I don't share the big mess. I don't share when my bathroom floor needs a good cleaning. Like, that kind of stuff I leave out. If I'm having a challenge with a client, I'm not going to share that on video. I'm always going to make sure I'm just focusing on that positive. I'm painting the picture that I want the clients to connect with. And that hug that your sister-in-law or your sister got from the bride, like, those are the kind of moments that are wonderful.
Yes. Is there anything else that final thoughts that you would like to share with the wedding market audience?
Oh gosh, we covered a lot. I think this was really great. I'd even recap some things in my mind that I realized I need to go back and look at. I don't think I have anything left to add. I think that's really it. Just, if you guys are not already using your stories, please get out there and use them because it's a great resource. I do have something. So one of the great ways to connect with people is to comment on their stories and interact with their stories, because that is the real. That is the authentic. That is definitely not as planned and not as organized as the perfectly curated posts that you see with the light blushes and tones and donuts and notebooks. Like, that's all Instagram perfection, right? But when you see the stories and you're still interacting with people, you connect with them again on another level. Now, that's best on B2B, on business to business. I don't know that I necessarily say be stalking your brides and grooms. That might be a little overkill. But when it comes to other businesses, you want to connect with them too, because those businesses, that's who's referring you. That's who knows your name. So when the bride sits down and talks to them, if you've just commented and interacted on one of their stories, you're fresh in their mind, just like it used to be back in the day when you were going to a networking event and you had to go to all the networking events in order to keep your face fresh in everyone's mind. Well, now life is a little bit easier. Really, all you have to do to stay fresh is be communicating with their social media.
Yeah, I really like the fact of how you were talking about communicating with others on social media, because sometimes I've seen people that, all they do is post, but they're not interacting with other people, and you really do have to interact with other people to also be successful in social media. Don't you think?
You absolutely do. Absolutely. So, social media is social. And if you're just using it as a place to share what you do and share what you like, and you're not investing in anyone else, then it's probably not going to work for you. And you should look at another source for social media. Maybe Facebook is better for you than Instagram is. And the other thing I think that is really key is there are people that will hire another company to run their social media, which can be good, um, provided you have a company that is going to also interact. I know there are some people that I absolutely love and adore, and they will have an outside company running their social, which for me, I can't connect with them because I will send a message, I'll send a direct message, and I will never get a response. So, whenever you are working with a social media company, you want someone that's going to respond to those comments. That's really important, that when people are reaching out to you and they're asking a question, that may be a potential client asking a question. you want to be able to be a real person and connect with them. So if you're using someone to do your social, make sure it's someone you know, a company you know, a company you can connect with, a real person.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that also. One of the things I have seen with companies, or more like interns, that businesses were so concerned with finding someone that just understands to use social media, but you also want to have someone that also understands your business. Just because someone understands social media, they may know nothing about your business. And like you said, they can't respond to clients if they don't even know exactly what you do during the day. It floors me how that happens sometimes.
Yeah, so
So,
it is dangerous letting an intern go on your social media. We do one intern a year here, and we definitely do have the intern get involved with our social, but on a different level. And I want to make sure that whenever I have anyone that is doing anything with my social media, they understand my voice. They understand how I communicate with people, what I would say, how I would say it. And I want everything to be truly authentic. And there are times that maybe I can't be there, but I want to be able to connect. So if they are making notes or doing a comment for me, I make sure that I have a recap of everything so that I can go back and connect with these individuals.
yeah. So, before we go, do you have, I guess, where can everybody connect with you on social or on your website?
All right, so you can go to my website, but it's boring. Everyone's got a website, right? If you really want to know what I'm up to, Instagram is the place to be. It's Intrigue_designs. You can also find me on Intrigue Teaches. The Intrigue Teaches website is intrigueteaches.com. That is where, if you're going to join me on tour, you would find information for the tour would be on Intrigue Teaches. But Instagram is always my place. And then if you are a florist or a wedding planner, wedding designer, we do have the Intrigue Teaches Facebook group that you're more than welcome to come and join us there. You've got to answer 3 questions to get in. If you do not answer the 3 questions, your request might sit there forever.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on today. And I tell you what, I think we talked about so many important things that wedding pros need to know to improve their social media and their storytelling for sure. So, thanks everyone for joining us here for Wedding Market Live with Sarah Campbell, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.